Hello, welcome to McCrackin' the Whip with Neela. Heart, Horses, and Hounds, a podcast of life and a career of passion for all things horses. Little history on this. I am not a good typist. I flunked typing in high school. Thought, well, why do I need to type if I'm going to ride and work horses? And at that time, it made perfect sense. And since you never know what's going to happen in your life, to me, it came around and made it more difficult for me to do all the things I want. I've written articles for magazines and still could. I love to write on Facebook, but I'm a terrible typist. Add to that fact that I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist, and I don't spell well on top of it. It makes everything I do typing very difficult. So now this is my answer to not typing well. Since typing is so stressful, what can I do to help get my point of view out or some of those interesting ideas I have that fly around in my head at 2 o'clock in the morning? And it's not the ones about what do penguins dream about. It's ones about horses and things that are happening and why they happen and how I can be better with the horses and how I can help them understand and how can I be a better person at teaching other people my love for horses. So the way to get that was talking. I talk for a living. That's what I do. Watch horses, work horses, and talk. So this gives me the perfect opportunity, an audio podcast, to be able to talk about what I'm thinking, what's happening. So here I am, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to go, Neela, you talk all the time. Aren't you tired of that yet? No, not yet. But let me give you a brief history on how this horse thing started for me. When I was 3, my grandparents had an old horse that used to be used at Lindenwood Stables as a beginner horse. And they were friends with Howard Palmer, who actually provided the horses for Lindenwood College. In the summer, when they weren't using them, they got this old horse called Spotlight brought to their farm, and it was for the grandkids to ride. And I was probably around 2.5 or 3. At the end of the summer, the horse went back to the Lindenwood College, and I threw a fit. I cried and sobbed. I thought my life was ending. I cried so much that my grandmother called up Howard Palmer and said, look, I need something for this kid. We can't get her to be quiet. So he goes, look, I got this spotted pony I'll bring over, and you can use it for the winter. My grandkids don't come out and ride it, so they can have that. So the next weekend after the pony got there, they said, we've got a new horse. You can come out there and ride. And they thought I'd be perfectly happy. It was spotted. It was close to the other horse they thought, or that's what they thought. When I got out there, I took one look at that pony and cried, that's not a horse. And I proceeded to cry until my grandmother called Howard Palmer back up and bought Spotlight for $75. And that was my first horse. And I thought I had the best horse in the world. We kept her at Stevens College, and they used her for their beginner lessons. And then on the weekends, I could go out and ride her. And I thought I was on the best saddlebred in the world. At that time, at Stevens College, they had a big, huge saddle seat department, and each instructor had their own show horse, and they went to shows on a regular basis, and I was addicted. I needed that. I wanted to do that. And that's what I went my whole life. I have been a horse-crazy kid forever. I can remember going out and cleaning stalls so I get to ride a saddlebred, because I didn't always have a saddlebred. I loved them. And as I got older, I went to school to get an equine science major, and then I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to do the horses. I didn't want to do school, so I got out and eventually started my own business. That was in 1985. I was already close to 30 years old then when I started the business. It was a few months before. I have managed to suck in my whole entire family into the horse business. Over the next several years, I did pretty much exclusive showing and training on American saddlebreds. But I always in my heart loved shows like Oprah, where they got people to do things that were good for everybody else. And they were always promoting that you could do something yourself. And I even called them and said that I would work with Make-A-Wish, the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And they said, well, then call them up. And they didn't seem to be too interested. And so finally, when we moved out to New Jersey, I figured out that there were a lot of horses. By this time, we had the internet and different websites. There were a lot of horses, saddlebreds, going to slaughter. And so I added on, since I had a day off and I loved horses and I had no hobbies, I made my hobby be rescue horses. And that's how I got into saddlebred rescue. So now my life is filled with Northwind Stables, training and showing American saddlebreds, teaching people to ride, and saddlebred rescue, which is where we get to save horses that we're going to slaughter or we're in a desperate situation. And it's been the best of both worlds. And all of this I've managed to accomplish because of my passion and love for horses. So thank you for listening. And if you like this, please comment. And I'm going to try to do more of these. And we'll get into more detail on different subjects. Talk to you later.